to you, and thanks for being a part of this segment. And for the listeners and viewers out there, they are getting treated to some bonus time because we, within just what, the first couple of days after last week's segment, we were talking about doing this weekly because there's a lot to talk about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited with this effort. I think the Discover Oceana County spot weekly is going to bring a lot of cool new things to the table. I'm really looking forward to it. It's so new. This is our second one, but I really want to bring some other people in and see other people from different parts of Oceana County. And just in the last week, I've had at least a dozen people reach out that they'd love to join on the spot. So I think we're going to look forward to kind of a cool summer where we can share some interesting things for both residents, people of Oceana, as well as Mason County, but also tourists that are here just temporarily, and we can kind of shout out to where they should be on any given week.
That's a great idea. And a big point you made is that with the small communities, and we mentioned this a little bit last week, with the small communities that make up Oceana County, Mason County, Lake County, Manistee County, there is some intertwining. There is some relationships that are there that are mutually beneficial for everybody, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think I communication is so important, and I don't care what we do. We have committees and teams that work on trying to get our events out, or communication on different city things, and we can work on it till we're blue in the face. We'll be on we'll be on WMOM or 99.9. We'll do print advertising. We're in all the statewide and all the rest areas. We have a great website. We do social media posts. And at the end of the day, I'll still find myself at Hart Commons on a Thursday watching a band, and someone will come up and say, you guys should advertise more.
It does happen. And it will never reach 100%, but we certainly will try. One of the comments that I saw come in was from the village of Shelby, from the team there in Shelby,
Mhm.
and they were excited about this opportunity and being able to be on and be able to spread awareness and such. That was probably a pretty good feeling to hear from them. And then you've talked with the team over in Pentwater as well, and I think there's some good things brewing, I would assume.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Phil Morse is the new village manager in Shelby. He's doing a great job. He's doing a lot of really interesting things where he's doing community visioning and engaging the community. And that's one of the biggest and easiest ways to get that buy-in from your community. Rachel Witherspoon is in Pentwater. She's brand new to Pentwater. She's hit the ground running, and she's run into some significant obstacles.
Mhm.
I think a lot of it's just new person from outside of the community in a small village. And man, if you know Pentwater, they're tight knit. It's a great community, but it would be a terrifying community to be dropped into and in charge of a leadership position, just because you have to know the pulse likely before you get there. And I think Rachel's learning the hard way that she's going to create some waves trying to make changes, but she's young and she's very sharp, and I think she'll prevail. But man, she's going to have a few tough months here. But I've met with her a couple times. Phil and I and Rachel have had lunch together, and we have a collaborative spirit that I think we're going to see grow. And we don't just need to keep it to our three communities. We'd love to see Walkerville and Hesperia and New Era and other area communities. Golden Township, I'd love to see us buy in closer with the Silver Lake sand dunes, and they've got the cash cow of uh, hundreds of thousands of tourists a year that are there. But if our communities can work together with them, I think we're all going to be better off.
Absolutely. And I look forward to, and we chatted about this off air, is that of having Rachel on in the future from Pentwater to be able to be able to introduce some of her programs that she looks forward to launching in Pentwater, and how they're performing, and what we can do to help her promote them, and the communities that you mentioned as well. So looking forward to that. There is a lot of great communities in the area, and we wouldn't do justice if we didn't have the listeners involved. If there's something that you're aware of, that's like, hey, this would be a great topic to talk about, or I heard about this. Can you elaborate more on it? I think that sounds exciting. Let's dive into our major topic that we wanted to talk about today. And it sounds like Hart has some new recreation and development programs there to explore. Take us through a little bit of the background and history on that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I've been with the city of Hart for 4 years, and for 4 years we've worked on wastewater infrastructure, streets. Continue to work on water quality in Hart Lake, water quality throughout our community, um, electrical infrastructure through our municipal power company, and all these things are so boring. They're essential. They need to be done, but they're boring. And I finally got to a point where city council is letting me have one of my kind of pet projects, have a little bit of latitude, and we've actually created, I believe it's the first Parks and Recreation Department in Oceana County history.
Wow.
Um, Council allowed us to do that last year, and we brought a lot of things in house, including operations at John Gurney Park, which is our municipal campground. Um, and just from the first year, kind of bumbling through how to deploy a Parks and Recreation program from the ground up, we've received a huge amount of community support. Our residents like it, visitors like it. And this year is going to be the first year we can actually start to work on programming, which is something that I don't see a whole lot of in Oceana County. There's a few groups like the Council on Aging that do some programming. We're looking to kind of mirror that and grow that, not just for our elderly people, but also for all community members.
Well,
Um,
tell us, why do you think that it has taken so long to do something like this? What sort of hurdles do you think that were in place, if there was any?
I have to believe that funding is always the key piece on that, because a water system is an enterprise fund. It's a utility. So when you pay your rate, you pay for the water. Same thing with wastewater treatment or energy. If you're paying your energy bill, no matter who it is, if it's DTE or consumers, that bill is supposed to pay just for the infrastructure and the cost to provide that service to you. Um, Parks and Recreation isn't a utility, so it's a little more tricky. If you're not using taxpayer general fund money, where does that money come from?
Mhm.
So initially, some of the funding for the park is coming from John Gurney Park, the campground itself. We were fortunate to be able to pour a lot of revenue back into John Gurney Park last year, and we're going to continue to do that this year. So a lot of the funding that we're using for Parks and Recs goes right back into
Yeah,
where it
absolutely.
should be. But also, we're going to look to employ programming like kids day camp or weekly movie night, um, other activities, nature walks, educational type input, and likely we'll charge a pay for play fee. So maybe it'll be $25 to go for the nature walk, and it'll include snacks at the end, or maybe it's a $10 a day drop-in fee for kids to go have a recreational activity, and maybe that's followed up by an educational or an art activity. And we've already found a lot of summer teachers that are off for the summer that are interested in making a little side money, and also kind of providing that service back to the community. So I think it's going to be something that Oceana County and Hart specifically hasn't seen in the past, but I'm really excited to grow that so it can touch more people than just Hart proper.
Do you see that charging a fee like this is part of that initial phase, and that might phase out, or do you think that that is something that is required for something like this to be sustained for the future?
I see us actively pursuing grants, as well as private support from local donors. So I'd really like to see, some of our bigger employers step up and help to subsidize the program. Maybe we could have a Learn All About Cherries Day from Gray and Company and Hart, or What Don't You Know About Apples from Peterson Farms. I can see tying a lot of that in, so we don't have to charge for everything. I think the initial phase likely will be we just have to have the program pay for itself long enough to prove that value to everyone. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think we'll see the buy-in after that.
If you're just joining us, we're talking with Rob with our Discover Oceana County segment here. And you had mentioned something early on about it benefiting New Era, Shelby, Pentwater, other areas, Walkerville as an example. How do you see that working out?
So I see that on two levels. I think that as we grow our programming, um, I'd like to see I'd like to see like swimming classes and things like that, that kids could anticipate being a part of. There used to be Red Cross programs in Oceana County, so I'd like to see that come back where the kids can grow from guppies to minnows to I forget what all the Red Cross classifications are, but each year they get that next certification. I'd love to see kids from all over Oceana County benefit from something like that. I also see the opportunity where this can easily drip through to other communities. And I guess at that point, I'm not sure exactly how that grow out looks, but I've been on the Hart Rec board for the last few years. About 4 years ago, Hart Rec was all but bankrupt. Um, we were going through a hard time, and then the pandemic just put the whole project to bed. Shelby Rec, to some level, experienced similar struggles. Pentwater, Walkerville has struggled to keep their rec program together. So I see an opportunity, and maybe it's not Hart, like the City of Hart Parks and Recs department, but I really see the potential for the collaboration of these different rec programs to work together. Like so many other things, there's strength in numbers.
Yeah.
So I've talked with the Oceana County Parks and Rec Board, and they've actually allocated some funding to an Oceana Rec type consortium, but we've struggled to get all of our rec programs together. And Oceana County doesn't want to run a rec, so that they've been very clear they could probably offer some financial support, but they really don't want to have to administrate something like that. And in talks with Pentwater Rec, Walkerville Rec, and on some level Shelby, it sounds like we might be at a time where we could talk about having a group where maybe each rec club wouldn't lose its identity, but there would be one central rec that could kind of oversee, help with scheduling for officials, scheduling for county resources.
Mhm.
And with a lot of the new parks that have been built in Oceana County, like the Shelby Township Community Park and Getty Park in Shelby, Pentwater has quite a bit of land that could be developed. um, I see an opportunity there where we can pool our resources and really do some good for the kids, but each of our communities at the same time.
Do you see that we talk about the collaboration potential there. Do you see that a lot of communities would be open to that, or do you see that there has to be some convincing, if that makes sense a little bit?
I definitely think there needs to be a little convincing. That said, um, boy, I remember 20 years ago there was a lot of uh, animosity between communities, or that sense of community in each community was so much stronger, where there really wasn't a space for collaboration. It was, we are our village strong, and we don't want to have those other communities involved with us. I think that thinking has largely um, aged out, or I think people are understanding that we really all win if we can work together. And like you said, I think some urging or trying to come up with a good case to compel everyone to work together is going to be part of the conversation. But I think that conversation is a lot easier today than it would have been in the 90s.
Yeah. We're talking with Rob as we go with Discover Oceana County and the development of this program. We're talking on a weekly basis on Tuesdays about Oceana County. And we're talking this morning about collaboration. You have the Parks and Rec department, the new Parks and Rec department developed or developing in Hart. Where do you see the timeline of the Parks and Rec for Hart specifically? Are we going to see a lot of these activities here in 2025, or is this going to take a while?
Um, we were at an MParks conference up in Traverse City a few weeks ago, just to learn more about what successful parks and recreation programs look like. And there are so many communities that have a quarterly flyer that has 30 or 40 activities you could join in, from weaving classes to photography to computers. Um, I see us moving that direction. I would say this summer we're going to have one page of activities and not a whole flyer full of activities. But yes, I'd say we're going to see programming starting in June this year, and then each year I see that growing. And again, I think once we can prove our effort and show that value to the community, uh, I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to kind of grow like wildfire. Um, we talked a little bit here and there about doing, you hate to say the M word, but we talked about a millage. And our mayor was pretty adamant. She said, I think if we're very creative and we do this right, I don't think we need to charge, like, we don't need to even look at that taxation piece. We can create a program that's self sustaining because the need's there.
Mhm.
And I think Mayor Klotz is spot on. I think we can do that. So I would anticipate seeing this project grow, double digits year over year going forward. I think we're going to see a lot of support.
That's great. You talked a few minutes ago about maybe some educators being a part of some of the summer programs and such, but twofold question for you. The first would be, do you see already that the community is embracing this, or do you find that there's going to have to be an educational process to get everybody on board or a good majority on board? And the second part of that question is, what are you looking forward for to the community? What do you think their response or their engagement looks like?
Hmm. You stumped me a little bit. Okay, so number one, I've heard nothing but positives from our community.
Okay.
I literally have not heard one negative voice from a resident at this point as to our efforts. Um, save for a few comments like that'll never work.
Yeah,
You're always going to have that group.
that
Uh,
happens.
so I'd say the support is there. I would have to anticipate some missteps or some tripping points. So I think I'd be foolish to think that this is going to go forward and there's not going to be any opposition or any issues. I'm sure we're going to do something wrong. We have to anticipate that we'll do something wrong. But to me, if we're not trying new things and trying to grow and provide better benefits and added value to our residents and visitors. Um, what are we doing here? We can spin our wheels all decade long, and we're
Mhm.
not going to grow, and we're not going to see a better quality of life.
Mhm.
But that's how small towns and small communities die in these rural areas. So to me, I think we have to do some of these things. I think once the community sees the value, I did grow up in a bigger community on the other side of the state, and their parks and recreation program has been studied and awarded again and again. And I look at that and I see that value that it brings to kids and even bringing families together, family events where, again, you'd have like a weekly movie night at the park and the whole family lays the blanket out and they have munchies and watch a family movie out on a beautiful park-like setting. Those are things that really will be treasured moments. And I think as we start to as we start to sell those things and show that the proof is in the pudding, I think we're going to see more and more support.
Yeah, that sounds exciting, and I think the what I take away from today's subject and our topic as we get closer to wrapping up here is that you're talking about something that affects the local residents, those that have been a fabric of the community for years. It's not necessarily uh, something to attract tourists in the sense. I think it will naturally do that, but it also it focuses first on the residents in the community there. And I would assume that's a big part of what your goal is, right?
Absolutely. People talk about the old days with the swimming hole and taking swimming lessons in the swimming hole. And that specific location probably can't come back because of some environmental conditions. But we can have a swimming program and we can have lessons in a different area. They talk about back in the day, the ice skating rink and how full it would be with community members. We don't currently have that, but that's another piece. As they're talking about things they liked from the past, we can bring those back, and we should.
Yeah. What have we missed talking about today before we wrap up that's important to you in regards to the parks and recreation department there in Hart?
I don't think we've missed a whole lot. I think we're on the right track. What I do want to do, I anticipate in coming weeks, I really want to bring more community members in.
Mhm.
Like I said, I've been approached by at least a dozen people in the last week since our first spot to come do a little Discover Oceana time with us. So in coming weeks, absolutely anticipate seeing some other civic leaders. I've got a half a dozen business owners that would really like to come talk, some really fun people. And then also some nonprofits, Oceana County Community Foundation would like to come join. So I think this is going to end up being a really fun spot going forward, and I really look forward to kind of delivering a little bit of Oceana County one piece at a time to your listeners.
Absolutely. I look forward to it as well. And it's neat because sometimes, as I mentioned last week, communities can be overlooked. I grew up in a very, very small town, population of about 600. And when you look at it, it's like, well, the bigger town or this town or that town, got a lot of the attention. And it's important. Obviously, there's the hub of a community or a county in the sense, but it's always important to know that the small communities, everything kind of weaves together. We shop in the neighboring communities, but there's also, and I say it this way because over the last few years, with some of the events that took place in Hart on the Commons, I would talk to people, friends in Ludington and in other areas. Say, yeah, we're going down to Hart to do this, to see the clown band perform or see this event happen. And I think when you hear more of that, when you when you see that you're sitting right next to somebody that maybe drove 15 miles away or 10 miles away or 30 minutes or whatever, it just broadens the aspect or the foundation of true communities, and not even thinking, okay, this all these people are just from Hart or all of these people are just from Pentwater. That can be an eye opener, I guess I'd say.
I think you're right. I'll tell you, I'm up in Lovington at least two times a month, but it's probably more like once a week. Excuse me, probably more like once a week. And I feel the same community spirit up there that I feel here. So I agree with you. When Scottville Clown Band is playing in Scottville, we go there. And when Pentwater has a cool event on the green, we go there. And yeah, our West Michigan community spirit is strong.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to discovering it as it is Discover Oceana County. And let's pick it back up next week. For our listeners and viewers, you can look for this segment about 9:20 on Tuesday mornings. And you can always give feedback if it's just in the comments section of our Facebook pages or our YouTube channel that this is streaming on. You can always email the website or reach out to Rob directly through the City of Hart website. And if you're a community member anywhere in Oceana County, and you feel strongly about something that's taking place, and not from a political standpoint or from a controversial standpoint, but from an improvement of community standpoint and an awareness standpoint to bond the community together more. Reach out to us. We would love to be able to learn more and to be able to share that with others. Rob, we appreciate you each and every week. We certainly do.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'm gonna second your sentiment there. I thrive on feedback. It doesn't have to all be positive, but boy, I'd rather hear what people are thinking than have them reserve those thoughts to themselves. We can't fix or we can't affect change on things we don't know about. So,
That's right.
yeah,
We
right
always,
there.
always can improve. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Rob, we look forward to it, and hopefully you have a busy day today. And thanks for all that you do.
I'll see you on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, next.